Taking another look at the Texas primaries now. A familiar Republican name won big last night, Bush. George P. Bush is now the Texas State Land Commissioner. He's the son of Jeb Bush, former governor of Florida, and the nephew of former President George W. Bush. To talk politics tonight, Vince Coglianese, editorial director at the Daily Caller, host of Mornings on the Mall on WMAL Radio. Nice to have you.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
So George P. Bush, I first heard his name in 2000 when all the girls were going crazy over him at the Republican convention in Philadelphia. Many people were speculating that if George lost, the Bush dynasty would be completely done. Are we going to see, do you think, George P. on another ballot anytime?
Well, I'm not sure if we can equate getting a second term as land commissioner in the state of Texas as a continuation of the Bush dynasty. I imagine George P. Bush might hope that that's the case. I do think that in terms of political family dynasties, we just saw the Clintons lose again. And the idea of having the Bushes back in office right now, there's not a lot of appetite to sustain political dynasties in the United States. So he's going to have to put that one on hold for a while. It is a surprise to see him win. He was facing a tough challenge, actually, in that primary race. He pulled it off, and I think that there were a lot of very interesting lessons for both political parties in Texas.
Well, he's Latino and he is Catholic. Texas Democrats came out big last night for this primary. They seem to be very energized. Do you think that Democrats could take over Republicans coming up in the midterms?
Well, Democrats are certainly hoping so. Texas is an interesting state because Democrats see this as a bellwether, and also the notion that maybe, just maybe, Texas could go blue in the future. It's demographically trending that way. You have the Latino population exploding in Texas, and Democrats see good signs in that. Here's the thing to look out for, though. Many Democrats who voted in yesterday's primaries were people who already traditionally vote. There wasn't a huge tranche of new voters, and Democrats are leaving that race yesterday a little concerned that they're not turning out the people that they want to.
Earlier in the show, we heard from a pro-life Texas group that said abortion is the issue that is front and center in Texas. Should the GOP be worried that abortion is going to drive the Democrats' message, hence potentially driving more Democrats to the polls?
Well, I think the politicians, by and large, should run on what they believe in. So I think to the extent that Republicans and Democrats think about abortion, they should allow those convictions to guide what their messages are and hope people show up for those reasons. Republicans do have to realize, like, so long as they're in power, just like if the Democrats were in power, they are going to face an insurgent threat from people who are out of power. That always happens, and that's why Democrats are expecting a good year. Will it be good enough to take back the House? I don't think that's yet told.
Speaking of the House, let's move on to the White House. Chaos, yes, no. Gary Cohn left. We heard that earlier in the show. People are calling it the brain drain. Does this give more credence to that chaos theory?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen quite a few people leave it was an inordinate amount, actually, who've left the White House, a lot of the top players in the Trump White House. But I think ultimately, what you're going to see, no matter what year it is, no matter what phase of the Trump presidency is, you will see conflict in the White House. You will see people who disagree with one another. Gary Cohn and Peter Navarro, two guys who were economic advisors to the President of the United States, had very different ideas about what they think the U.S. trade policy should be.
And
they've been there
Gary Cohn lost
throughout, and they've been fighting. Yes, well, Gary Cohn lost on that fight, but he successfully was able to usher through tax reform inside of that White House. They felt like that was an accomplishment, and he feels like he's leaving there with a good report card. Gary Cohn wasn't expected to last more than a year anyway, by his own admission. So he made it to this point. We'll see what happens next.
Thank you so much. Vince Coglianese, editorial director at the Daily Caller.
Thank you.